So I don't have a long, rambling introduction for our next feature, except to say that Mark Anderson has been talking her up for years, and now she's finally of age to come out in public or something like that. So please welcome Lauren Gilmore.
Hello. Thanks everyone for sticking around. I have never been to Everett before, so I'm really excited to be here. Everyone has been super friendly. It's awesome. So I realized I wrote my set list and it's all really sad, but I'm not very sad, so if this seems really insincere, I apologize. So this first poem is called Caramel Apples. Before you get braces, a rich man in a Hawaiian t-shirt hands you a refrigerator magnet, a list of all the things you can't eat. Number 7 is caramel apples. Here, my 11-year-old pre-orthodontic ridden self drew the line. Here, I was devastated. My mother, from her financial wits' end, had no sympathy. Instead asked me when I last remembered having a caramel apple anyway. See, she said to my silence, you can't miss what you barely had to begin with. 2 years would pass, with or without the braces, caramel appleless. Things would be no different. After my father's death, it took 3 days for the news to pass through our door. As it did, the house became heavier. Furniture that had not supported his weight in over a decade suddenly creaked in his absence. Every ring of our phone pierced the quiet with an absolute certainty. It's not him on the other end. Every inhale became an act of theft from his lungs to mine. Each one turned me to a walking picture of her. A frozen smile with recycled captions everyone mistook for healing. Sleep fled as swiftly as innocence from a crime scene. In the darkness, ceiling tiles began to resemble the inside of a coffin. I tried convincing myself these holes in my chest had always been there. Had not seen his face in over 5 months, and you just can't miss what you barely had to begin with, right? Death is just a mind game, mind over matter tried harder. My disbelief has been suspended for far too long. I carried grief for well over 9 months, feeling it kick and scratch. I long for its birth, to something enlightened. His best friend planted him a grief garden. Perhaps I have done the same. Eyes for watering cans, any day now. Sprouts will come up from my fingertips. Flowers will braid themselves through my hair. Every smile in my direction will be sunlight, warming the soil. After 2 years, a now very rich man in a Hawaiian t-shirt hands you a maintenance retainer. After 9 months, fate snatches the progress from your womb and spits it back without a heartbeat. Hey, let's take a look at those teeth, shall we? The beautiful smile. $4,000 later, it's the only sort of beauty I have left. So something really wonderful has been happening, which is that summer is ending and it gets to be fall now. Because I don't know why summer makes me just really, really sad. Like, I don't know, something like too much heat and stuff. So this is a poem I wrote last summer about being, I was at Sasquatch Music Festival and it was really disorienting and I got confused. So this is about being in love and sad at the same time. So. Our freckles are just kisses the sun left behind. They are tiny pieces of her golden glow she will never get back. Before I met this boy who laughs as he assures clusters across his cheekbones are probably just acne. I too pressed my lips to bodies and bottles that couldn't hold me tight enough to keep my bones from sleep rattling into each other. I fell in love daily, 4 times before breakfast. It is the most beautiful method of forgetting yourself. So I smiled at strangers. Notice the looks they gave their shoelaces at bus stops and empty diner booths. I begged them to open their hands, as if giving something away could somehow make me whole. The sun falls on everything equally. Is there anything lonelier than this? Arm's length mixture of admiration and fear. She does not love herself. She lights up all the rest of us, settles for guarded eye contact through glass lenses thicker than the sky looks without her. By 6 a.m. she is slitting her wrists against our half-drawn blinds and calling it a morning. At noon, she fits perfectly beneath my thumb. I imagine I am holding her up. I tell her I do not love myself either. Spend too much time thinking of what will happen if he leaves me. I'll keep setting in the east, end up in one of those big cities where no one looks at each other and smog chokes the clouds. She tells me how much she envies our artificial bulbs, those who can flirt with destruction, then get to burn out eventually, without the freezing over of an entire planet on their conscience. Guilt, she says, will trick you into life if you let it, so I do, but is there anything lonelier than this state? Everywhere I go feels like standing in the middle of a screaming football stadium, and the game has gone out of my heart. At night, she keeps us alive unintentionally. We breathe with our eyes closed in her loosened, lukewarm grip, and I wake up with his arms around me, my face inches from the wall. Says he loves me. Ask why. To the sound of rain rolling from the roof, the sun hears our voices rising like choir. Come out again today, please. Oh, pretty little sunshine, get out of bed today. She asks why. She's the only one who cannot feel her warmth. Says maybe you'd be better off without me. After all, when I step, only your shadows can burn. So on the note of feeling sad and confused in summertime, I have a few just shorter page poems to go through and then go back to some other stuff. Yeah, so this is about just being at the... Has anyone been to Spokane before? Yeah. Have you guys been to the Carousel in Riverfront Park? Yeah, I just spend a lot of time there watching people like do things and stuff. So this is a poem about that, and it's called "And the Fever and the Chills." By Tim Johnson. And the carousel kept spinning while I sat on the bench outside it, a book about existentialism on my lap. The women gave me knowing looks, pushed their strollers a little further away. I fantasized about stealing their babies. I'd pick two, and clutching one against each of my breasts, I'd scream, just try taking little Anna and Christopher from me. The wooden horses went up and down with the organ music. Screaming children posed for photos and dyed their white teeth with snow cones. I don't know how many August afternoons I spent there, paying dollar after dollar so the fortune teller, Zoltar, who lived inside a machine, could spit out little slips of cardboard, reassuring me I was destined for greatness, wealth, and happiness, happiness, happiness. I caught glimpses of myself in the mirror at the carousel's center, hair unwashed, bright red lipstick pursed into a frown. If it wasn't moving quite so fast, I'd do it. Rush up and kiss the glass before curling my hands into fists. I'd punch until my knuckles bled, and the families would finally understand, pile into minivans and go back home for the week. But the carousel kept spinning, and the old men stared at my dress, and the grass outside went yellow. And this is, I've been going to classes at the Spokane Falls Community College, and it's kind of a weird, apathetic place, and so this is a poem called Community College. I don't know what it is about this place, but on the walk through campus from Building 7, where I take 2 separate yoga classes in the same day to my car,
parked in the only spot marked with stones like a grave, there's a clock without hands, and I think that about sums it up. I don't know what it is about pain, but 3 weeks ago, I listened to Sherman Alexie say a few of his poems. Before he went on stage, students from the Salish school read their stories off note cards. One girl was talking about her mother's alcoholism. About halfway through, she stopped and ran behind the curtain, and the audience only stared, and I think that about sums it up. I don't know much about anything, but it is the last day of May, and I'm allergic to the air. I am in love and lonely, home and homesick, restless and exhausted. Some people are clocks without hands. There's nothing pointing us toward north, no one to set us forward or adjust to the seasonal shifts. You can wind us up all you want. We do not always come here to chime.
Wow.